At least you could have cartoons.
Yeah, no, the way cartoons start at 7.
We on? No?
We're not on here.
What's that there?
Must be city council. Replay.
Who is that? It's not like the old classrooms where all the noise in the classes. You're a really good group.
No.
No? You have a young lady on there. They don't know who she is.
We've always had one. That's the one. Pick it up here. They know they can start doing it before they all sit there and talk, and they'd still be on TV. Yeah, that was, I think, I think it was Sheldon. No, I've gone out in the hall and talking to people, you know. Yeah. Okay. Do we tap dance or?
You tell jokes.
Yep.
Do my Jay Leno routine.
We're on.
Good evening. Welcome to the Clinton Area Chamber Candidate Forum. My name is Wiley Pillars, and I will be the moderator for this evening's forum. The program will be a forum to introduce the candidates to you and give you an opportunity to hear what their biographical backgrounds and their responses to what we hope are issues that are critical to this election and to especially to our county. The format will be that the first round will be the candidates for the Clinton County Board of Supervisors. The second will be the state legislative candidates, and the third will be the senatorial candidates. The procedure will be that first I will read a biography for the candidates that are on the particular forum. We will then have a question and response period. Each candidate will have 2 minutes in which to respond to the question. This is not a debate, so there will be no response or follow-up question from the audience or the news media. However, as moderator, I reserve the right to ask a follow-up question if I think there's clarity that needs to be made either in the way the question was answered or needs to be amplified on. Each session will be approximately a half hour long. At the end of the session, we will give each candidate 2 minutes to address the audience with their follow-up and personal comments. So with that, let's get started. The first, as I mentioned, will be the candidates for the Board of Supervisors. To my immediate right is John Cizeski, presently a member of the Board of Supervisors. And to his right, Tom Detterman, who is running for the Board of Supervisors. John was first elected to the Clinton County Board in 2008 and is seeking re-election in 2012. He is married to his wife Julie for 39 years. They have 2 children, Sarah and Matt, and a grandson, Sam. Julie is the Director of Curriculum and Staff Development for the Davenport Community School District. John is a graduate of Clinton Community College in 1973 and the University of Iowa in 1977. He earned a master's degree in urban and regional planning in 1981. He was employed 25 years with the City of Clinton, first as the Community Development Administrator and then as the Planning Director. As I mentioned, to his right is Tom Detterman. Tom's background: he's a lifelong resident of Clinton County. He's married to Judy. They have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. He attended Milwaukee School of Engineering and is a U.S. Army veteran. He was president of Detterman Industries and is currently retired. His community involvement involves Clinton Regional Development Corporation, past chairman, Clinton Area Chamber of Commerce, past chairman, Community Leader of the Year 2004, Volunteer of the Year 2012, Iowa-Illinois Highway Partnership, past president, Government Affairs Committee, that would be the Chamber of Commerce, past chair, member of Rotary, and he's president-elect, Builders Club, past president. Significant accomplishments: Board of Directors for the Association of Business and Industry in Des Moines, active in Washington, D.C. and Des Moines trips resulting in $80 million in return to Clinton County, and Iowa Freight Advisory Council for the Iowa Department of Transportation. The format will be, I will try and rotate the questions. So the first question we'll let John start with, and then Tom will respond, and then next time around Tom can go first and John will respond. The first question, to kind of get us started and know where the candidates are at, is as follows, John. Outline the experience and the qualities that you would bring to the Board of Supervisors that will assist you in making the best business and economic decisions for the county's residents.
Well, I feel that I've been working in government for over 25 years as employed in the past 4 years on the county board. I think this experience has led me to where I think we need to put our resources. That is working together, working with the Chamber, the Clinton Regional Development, DeWitt Development, and other organizations that are looking to locate here and looking at business and industries that are looking to locate here in Clinton. And as the county government, we don't get directly involved. What we are, we're like the silent partner. We help funding. We'll go along with them on business trips to bring in industries and businesses, and just be a kind of a supporting partner to the economic development organizations.
Tom, go ahead.
You want to repeat that?
The question? Sure. Outline the experience and the qualities that you would bring to the Board of Supervisors that will assist you in making the best business and economic decisions for the county.
I think with my 40 years of business experience, I've seen a lot in the 40 years. I've seen the economy go up, I've seen it go down, and you've got to learn how to adapt to when to spend, when to cut to survive through those tough periods. Also been involved with the Comanche and Clinton council meetings. I've probably been to more council meetings than anyone but Darrell Smith. So I've seen a lot over the years there. Been on all the Des Moines and Washington trips, so I'm pretty familiar how all that goes. With the economic development, really in touch with Debbie Durham and the new economic development team out there. So I think I bring a lot there that just experience in the business industry gives you a more heads up than being in government. That's all.
Okay, second round. Tom, you get to go first. What do you believe is the biggest economic concern facing county government at this time? And what would you suggest as a solution for that problem? And specifically, we're talking about Clinton County.
At this point, I think there's probably two. The mental health, that law was passed and the levy went from 59 to 47. which is roughly, I think, about an $800,000 cut to Clinton County. Pretty severe cut. Counties already, they formed a region actually Monday, 5 counties to address that, so it's going to be interesting how that works out, but that's a big cut, and I think we're going to see more consolidations in the future, so we're just going to have to work with them and make the best of them. The next thing coming down the pike is the property tax, trying to get commercial and industrial property tax cut. The talk has been 40% over 4 to 8 years, whatever. So that's going to be a big factor for the county to try and address. Hopefully it'll be over a longer period, the 8 years. I think the county could handle a 5%. Don't like it, but I think to be competitive, I think we're going to have to do that to get the commercial property tax down. I think we're 3rd highest in the nation. So we're just going to have to buckle down and do it. So,
John?
Yeah, again, the mental health is a big concern. It wasn't 800,000; it was $1 million that we lost. It's 800 million. It's that money is directly coming from the county. It's not any state or federal money, so that money will never be made up. The road use tax fund is hurting us. We've had layoffs already in our roads department because we're just not keeping up, and we can't make it up any other way unless we go with layoffs. And Tom mentioned the commercial and industrial. That unless they backfill that money they're going to reduce, it's going to hurt us some more. We have no way to make it up unless we raise taxes. And those are issues that are not our fault. I mean, they're coming down from up above, and so we're getting kind of stuck with trying to work our way out of all these issues, and it's going to be tough on the county the next few years.
Hey, John, it really was my next question. It's not a follow-up question, but it's probably going to sound like a follow-up question. The question was, the state has continued to transfer mental health and case management costs to the counties. Those costs have resulted in substantial reduction of personnel by both departments, particularly here in Clinton County. As those costs are shifted and the services reduced, what can the county do, if anything, to assist in alleviating those problems? And I don't necessarily mean you have to limit the question to mental health or case management. It's the idea of the state transferring these costs down to the counties without any remedy for how the county's supposed to pick these costs up, and yet you still have to maintain services within the county.
Yeah, we have no pot of money that we can use. I mean, we're going to have to reduce services. The mental health center is going to be reducing staff. There's no way for us to come up with more money. With this reorganization, we're going to be working with the other counties, the 5 other counties at Cedar, Muscatine, Scott, and Jackson, and Clinton are all going to be working together to try to figure out what the heck we're going to do. It's not going to be easy. I think services are going to go down much farther, and there'll be a lower level of service, and that causes problems for not only the mental health of the families, but also law enforcement. If there's no help for these people, they end up at the jail, and so we end up taking care of them. So it's something we're going to be working on, not just 1 year, probably 2 or 3 years.
Tom?
Yeah, the mental health mandate from the state, very severe for the county. I'm glad that the county's pretty much been taking a lead on it and formed the coalition on the region already. I think being involved in it, they've got to really be involved in it to be sure, Clinton County, gets its fair shake on the thing. I think also the services, but this really came about because the services across the state are uneven. And I think the state's trying to get some standard of care in. It shouldn't matter whether you're in Clinton County, Polk County, the standard of care that you get. So I think there's going to have to be some help from the state legislatures on this, or maybe down the line, hoping that the state will just take it over, then there'll be a standard of care across the state.
Tom, the next question. There has been discussion regarding the condition and the size of the Clinton County Jail, particularly compliance standards with the federal standards for the jail. What do you foresee this as a problem in the future? And if so, what are your suggestions with regard to solving those problems?
Coincidence, last year I was on the Citizens Police Academy, so I've had a tour of it. I think the county, I think they've done a fantastic job with what they have, but it's pretty embarrassing when on the lower level you have to cover your desk at night because the overflow of toilets and stuff come down on them. It's pretty disgraceful to have the sheriff's department have to put up with that. So something definitely has to be done with that old facility. I know they've worked with a new coordinator. You know, they're trying to get people, you know, not putting them in jail that they don't need to. I think they've been doing an excellent job trying to keep the inmates down. But the jail, I'd say roughly must be 40 years old. It's been there just about forever in my lifetime. So I'm afraid it's lived its lifetime. And, you know, in the future here, I think they already have somebody working a study on it. And I think we're going to have to address it somewhere in the future, whether we like to or not.
John?
Yeah, it's not the far future, it's the near future. I mean, that place is in bad shape. Each year when we get inspected, either each year or every 2 years we get inspected. I mean, we have the county maintenance department down there for at least 2-3 weeks before they come down, just putting Band-Aids on some of the worst parts of it. Others they have to live with it. It is in bad shape. I mean, it's I'm guessing within 5 years that we will have a new jail, and it's going to be up to the citizens of Clinton County to fund that.
I guess as a follow-up question, and I'll let John let you answer it first. Given that situation and given the use of the jail, and if it becomes or reaches a point that it can't be used, or you have more prisoners than you have facilities, what's the cost going to be like to the county? Where do you go with the prisoners, and how do you pay for it?
Well, right now when we run out of space at the jail, we have to send them to other. So that means you know, we have they call other jails and say, you got room for another prisoner? So they have to take them down. I think before we started the coordinating council, I think one year we spent $300,000 on housing prisoners somewhere else. So it's you know, the time has come for that to be changed, and for a new jail. We have to have one.
Tom, if you want to respond, you can.
You repeat the question.
Well, it wasn't a question, really. I guess it was more, well, it was
Just a follow-up.
it was a follow-up as to what happens when either the facility can no longer be used because it's out of compliance, or you have more prisoners than you do facilities. Where do they go, and what's the cost?
I think it's been showing it's too costly to move prisoners. You know, I think we're going to have to build a new jail. I just hope when we build a new jail, I hope we're working with the city. The city needs a new police department and that, so I hope there's a lot of cooperation and at least discussions on combining a facility. The old facility I know didn't work that way, but if you've been there, it's so small, there's no wonder it didn't work. So I just hope that there's a lot of discussion between the county and the city of working together.
Next question, John. The overriding theme of the elections for this year is economic development and jobs. What role do you believe that the Board of Supervisors should bring to the county to promote economic growth and jobs for the county?
Well, I think, as I said before, just a strong cooperation, not only with the economic development groups, but other communities in Clinton County, from Comanche, DeWitt, Lowmore, Delmer, Lost Nation, all of them need to, we need to work together. And I think just last Monday, the board approved moving some money into that regional alliance with Quad City One. And so we're going to be looking at a regional approach, which will mean more of a partnership between the county, the city, and the development organizations.
Tom?
I think the county needs to be a strong partner in the region with economic development. Everything again is going to regions and partnerships and coalitions, and I think the county can do a lot more with taking more leadership in economic development, especially with the state. The state is one of the key contacts with that. We need more input with the state. I think we've been very fortunate. We've had them out here a few times this year, but besides the economic development on that, we need lower taxes, which we were talking about previous. We need to lower that commercial rate, less taxes and less regulation to help our existing businesses. It's probably where our most growth is in our existing businesses, to help them grow and prosper. But we've also always have to be looking out for the new businesses to develop here. So.
Okay. Tom, what would be your position if there was a request to rezone good agricultural land located near good transportation access, highway or rail, for a prospective industry that would bring a good tax base and employment to Clinton County? And I guess what I'm looking for here is, if you look at the last 3 to 4 months, you've seen the ammonia plant situation in Scott County and the fertilizer plant, and the strong disagreement over that. And the question, of course, becomes tax base and jobs. What would be your position if that, happened in Clinton County?
I think you always have to look at every case by case. I think we're a lot different than Scott County. I think DeWitt's well situated for industrial growth out there. Clinton, we have our rail port, of up to 1,000 acres in the city limits. So I think it's probably pretty small. Something will happen in the county, but we would definitely have to look at it.
John?
Yeah, I think the county's development plan, we want economic development to happen in the incorporated areas. And if there's an area that is an unincorporated area, we'll work it out. We'll try to work something out, but our plan has always been to encourage economic development in the incorporated areas. They have the infrastructure, and we also have a very good agricultural sector here in the Clinton County, and I know the board is committed to protecting that. So we'll work with them, but we'll sure try to get them to locate within a community that's better able to serve them.
Last question, and this is kind of the moderator's prerogative because it wasn't even on my list, but it came up as you were talking. And it's going to be about bonding. And the question, I guess, comes in the format as there is increased costs shifted from the state to the counties and the need for more money and not necessarily more revenue coming into the county. What do you see the role of bonding being? If you're going to do bond issues, what should those monies be limited to or be used for? Oh, I didn't pick somebody? Well, you're next on the list, John.
Okay, I was just waiting. Okay, yeah. So far, the county has only bonded twice, and I don't know. I think the first time we bonded was for road improvements. We issued a $6 million bond issue, and the second time was through the Assist the City in the Railport project. That was another $6 million. Bonding is something that we don't really like to do. It basically puts a burden on the taxpayers. And I say that because I know the jail is going to it will require us to bond it, because I don't think we can. We're looking at 2, 3, $4 million. I know and so it's going to be a bond issue. But yeah, we're very careful with our money, and if we find another avenue, we'll do it. But if we have to bond, we'll probably do a bond issue, small bond issue.
Tom?
This isn't unique to Clinton County. Across the states, cities have been bumping their bonding limits, and counties have had to come in to help them out for economic development. I think as long as it's through a TIF, where the buyer would be paying the taxes to pay the TIF off, and it shouldn't affect the county taxpayers. I think that would be more than appropriate. Because let's say Comanche is a good example. I mean, Comanche, I think, only has $1 million limit. So if they get any big project, they're going to have to come to the county for help with bonding for that. And again, as long as it was, I think, a TIF situation where the taxes on the new increment would pay for it. I don't know why the county wouldn't look at it very favorably for jobs.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the question and response period. You each can make your final closing remarks to the audience. And Tom, why don't you go first?
Again, I'm Tom Detterman. I'm running for Clinton County Supervisor. Been involved for at least the last 25 years with all forms of the government on the city, the county, the state, the federal end. So I think I have a lot of knowledge to bring to it there. With my 40 years experience in business, I think I have a lot of knowledge there in just everyday things like insurance rates, work comp rates, liability, just everything that goes with running a business. I think I have a lot to bring to the table there. And with 40 years in business, I've seen a lot of good times, I've seen a lot of bad times. And you have to learn how to adjust those times. And I think as a private citizen, business person, it seems like government has a hard time adjusting to bad times. They can adjust to good times, great, they get extra money and spend it. But I think they have a hard time adjusting to bad times, and I think business does a lot better job at that because we have no choice. We can't raise taxes for revenue, so we have to just get it done. A couple things I would like to do. I think the budget is really number one with the county. You got to have a sound budget, which I think they have, but I'm a little worried about spending reserves down here in the future with things coming up. Jobs is imperative. Been with the economic development, so I know how important jobs are. Been to China, and I'll go to the ends of the earth for this county to get more jobs. And Highway 30, we have to get that 4-lane west of DeWitt to Mount Vernon. That's imperative. That'll bring a lot of economic potential to the area. Vote for Detterman November 6th.
And I'm John Ciseski. I'm the current Board of County Supervisor. I'd like to begin by thanking the Chamber for hosting this forum. I've worked for local government for over 30 years. When elected 4 years ago, I moved from standing in front of this table to being behind the table. In both cases, I've worked for the benefit of all the people. When the Board of Supervisors meets on Monday mornings, we leave our labels at the door. We are all there to serve the citizens of Clinton County, not any particular agenda. In the last 4 years, we've kept taxes low, provided additional funding for road improvements, established a criminal justice coordinating council to relieve overcrowding in the jail, assisted the city in developing the railport, and purchasing a building in DeWitt to increase access to county services for the central and western parts of Clinton County. In the next few years, Clinton County will be facing some very big issues. Mental health reorganization, we've talked about that. Road use tax funding, we need the state to bump up that user fee so we can keep our roads up. Right now we are falling behind, and we're not going to do any more bond issues to fix up roads. We just can't afford that. And finally, the new jail. We've been putting Band-Aids on it too long. It's time for a new jail. Okay, I spent my entire career working, and as your county supervisor, working for the people, and as your county supervisors, I will continue this commitment and represent you to the best of my ability. I'm asking you here for your support starting September 27th. Remember, that's early voting starts a week from today through November 6th. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, John. Appreciate your taking the time to come and share that information with us. Okay, as you can see, we're ready to start round two, and to my left we have the incumbent state legislators and the challengers for those positions. I will read the biographies or resumes, and I'll start from my immediate left and work down the row. Mary Wolf is to my left. Mary was born in Washington, D.C. not quite 50 years ago. You know, she's really kind of hedging on that a little bit. Her family moved to Iowa when she was 3 years old and moved to Clinton in 1976 when Mary's father, Jack, accepted a position as Clinton County Public Defender so as to be closer to his parents and their Lost Nation farm. Mary is the oldest of 8 children. Most of her siblings live in Iowa and include a police officer, librarian, college professor, doctor, 2 teachers, and an assistant U.S. Attorney General. Mary has a 17-year-old son who is a senior at Clinton High School and who will be attending the University of Iowa next year. After graduating from the University of Iowa Law School, Mary returned to Clinton to practice law with her parents. For the past 20 years, Mary has enjoyed representing Clinton County residents in various legal proceedings. Since being elected to the House of Representatives 2 years ago, Mary has enjoyed representing the citizens of House District 26. During her first term of office, Mary served on several legislative committees, including Transportation, Human Services, and Public Safety. And last session, she was appointed ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. Due to redistricting, Mary is running for re-election in a new House District 98. She looks forward to tonight's forum and the opportunity to discuss some of the important issues that will be facing the Iowa legislature in the coming term. To her left is Carolyn Grimes. Although she and her husband grew up in the East and graduated from Pennsylvania, Carolyn and her husband Will enjoy living in Iowa. They moved to Clinton in 1975 when her husband accepted a job with Clinton Corn Processing. Shortly after the birth of their daughter Diana in 1981, Clinton Corn closed down, and after a difficult job search, the family had to leave Clinton for 6 years. Since 1991, Carolyn has served as the administrative assistant for a family-owned local business and has learned much about the challenges facing Iowa's small employers. Her earlier work experiences include medical billing, teaching junior high school, managing a travel agency, and working at a bank, 2 factories, and a library. Some of Carolyn's other activities involve being chairman of the City of Clinton Bicentennial Commission, serving on the Clinton Public Library Board, leading a Girl Scout troop, participating in the Chamber of Commerce Leadership Institute, and taking part in numerous political campaigns. She was named Outstanding Library Trustee in Iowa in 1993 and a YMCA Woman of Action in 1994. To her left is Representative Steve Olson, House District 83, currently running to represent House District 97. And if you can keep all these districts straight, good luck. Steve was first elected to the House of Representatives in November of 2002, serving out House District 83, which encompasses part of Clinton and Scott County, bordered by Lost Nation on the north and LeClaire on the south, Wheatland on the west, and Comanche on the east. Currently, Steve is serving his 5th term in the Iowa House of Representatives. With redistricting, Steve is seeking re-election in the new Iowa House District 97, which has seen very little change other than adding 3 rural townships, Brookfield, and Bloomfield in Clinton County, and Lincoln in Scott County. Steve was born and raised in Calamus, graduated from Calamus High School, and attended Iowa State University, served in the Iowa Air National Guard, and currently farms with his son in the rural Grand Mound Calamus area. In the past, he has served on the Calamus School Board, chaired his church council, and been a member of numerous community and agricultural groups. Steve and his wife Eunice are the parents of 2 children and have 4 grandchildren. Steve and Eunice moved from rural Grand Mound to DeWitt in 2005. Steve was elected Speaker Pro Tem of the House in May of 2012, replacing retiring Representative Jeffrey Kaufman. Steve was chairman of the House Environmental Protection Committee and also serves on the Agriculture and Public Safety Committees. And at the far end, last but not least, Ted Whistler. He is running for Iowa House District 97. Ted is a Democratic candidate for Iowa House of Representatives District 97. Ted's desire is to give back to Iowa in public service what he feels Iowa allowed him to enjoy in life: a good place to grow up, good education, and a good employment opportunities. He is a retired Alcoian where he worked as a coal mill operator. He's a 30-year union employee and has served both as union steward and committeeman. Ted is from a large Iowa family. His family is and has been involved in manufacturing, agriculture, small business, education, and professional services. After Ted's retirement, he worked as a bookkeeper for a law firm and a winery. Ted and his wife, Liz Whistler, have been rural Scott County residents for 23 years. They've raised 4 children and now have 10 grandchildren. Ted would like to represent all Iowans in District 97 to maintain and improve the high standard that Iowa is so well known for in the areas of employment, opportunity, education, agriculture, and environmental. Okay, so let's start with you, Mary.
Sure.
The legislature has continued to shift the funding mandates to counties as a method to balance the state budget. This has put tremendous burden on the county boards and their budgets. If the legislature proposes shifting more of the cost of mandated programs to the counties, what will be your position and why?
I think a good example of that is the recent mental health redesign, in which a funding mechanism was created that gutted Clinton County's mental health budget. And that was something that I voted against. I spoke out strenuously against it. I think the problem is there was a lack of understanding of the actual consequences. So we're going to have a chance to revisit that funding mechanism in the coming session, and I'm going to make darn sure that every single person, before they vote on it, understands what they're voting on and what it will do to Clinton if they don't make the right choice. And for every issue like that, and there are a lot of them coming up that we'll be dealing with, I think that that is crucial. We have to remember that we're representing the people back home, and we're not doing them any favors by gutting, our local government's ability to provide necessary services and our local school districts' ability to basically take care of business and educate our children. Does that 1 minute mean that I have a minute left? Mm-hmm. Oh, see, I thought we only had a minute altogether. So in that case, so it's important. I think we're also going to see more of that coming down the pike with regionalization. The state wants to spend less money and get more bang for the buck. And again, they need to understand that not all counties are alike, not all districts are alike, and those of us in more rural districts need to work together to make sure that we have a strong voice out in Des Moines. I've been doing that. I will continue to do it if I have the opportunity. Thank you.
Carolyn.
I am afraid that shifting of financial mandates is the nature of the world today. I think everybody is looking for somebody else to pick up the tab for things that they can no longer afford because of the nature of the economy. I don't think that that necessarily makes it right. I think that it has been wrong in the past, because this is not the first time that the state government has inflicted federal unfunded mandates on the county. It probably won't be the last, but I think it is wrong for them to do that. I think it's also wrong for the federal government to shift unfunded mandates onto the state, and it would be wrong if the county government attempted to shift them onto the city. I think everyone must just learn to live within their budgets. If they can't, then they need to somewhere cut those budgets.
Thank you. Steve?
I think it's important for Iowans to know that while we passed about a $6 billion budget in Iowa, we depend on the federal government for about another $6 billion. And if you watch the news in the last week or so, the DHS budget was put forward for the next year, and they anticipate about a 15% shortfall. That is brought about by funding that is not coming down to the state from the federal government. So thus the state government has to deal with the issue. And I'm sure that reference has been made to the mental health situation. Those of us in the more populous urban areas attract the health professionals that treat these patients, and as they move to our area, our counties are stuck with the bill, while those in very rural parts of Iowa are flush with money from some of their mental health funding levy that they have put in place. So the regionalization issue was brought forward to try and have everyone work smarter, bring services to all people of Iowa, and then to try and equate the funding mechanism. I realize that Clinton County this year does have a $500,000 shortfall. There is some funding that is set aside, and they can apply for additional funding if it's needed. But I commend the county for joining arms with our surrounding counties in the judicial area, or judicial district, to provide cooperative services. And I think in the long run that money will be saved from that standpoint. We have to remember we have to work smarter as funds become more scarce.
Thank you. Ted?
I understand that it's more like $1 million shortfall than 500,000, but it's more than I earn anyway. But what's going to happen? What is happening is we don't have the professionals to take care of people who need these services, so they are going to be going to jail, and that's going to lead to more overcrowding in the jail system. What else can we do to help these people? We need to help them. They need to be helped, not in prison.
Okay, next question. Carolyn, you're first. Last year, the legislature dealt with and failed to adopt an increase in the gasoline tax. Iowa's gasoline tax is considerably less than the state of Illinois. If that issue is brought before the legislature this year, what will be your position and why?
To begin with, let me say that I am aware that we need more money in our road use tax fund. That being said, the 10-cent proposed gas tax increase is one that I cannot support. We are currently paying 20 cents a gallon. A 10-cent increase would be a 50% increase in the cost of gasoline. It would make us less competitive with the other border states of Wisconsin, which is at 33, Minnesota at 27, and Nebraska at 27. I think that I would be willing to consider a gas tax increase, but I could not support a full 10 cents.
Steve?
In the past, I have said that I would support an increase in the gas tax revenue situation, and I will continue to be in that mode. I think that if it's going to pass this year, it will be a part of wholesale tax reform part of a tax reform budget, both property tax as well as income tax. I think that as you look at the situation, there is opposition from the more urban area, the center part of the state, and as you move out to the more rural areas, the support for the issue improves. And it's, as we are well aware, Highway 30 does need some extensive improvement. There is an issue in Bettendorf area, Interstate 74 bridge, and if that is indeed going to happen, we are going to have some increased revenue from some sort. So I do think that a gas tax possibly will come forward, but it will be a part of property tax as well as income tax reform.
Ted?
The 74 bridge, the funding is already there from Iowa, and the feds, we're waiting for funding from Illinois. I'm in support of the gas tax. I would like to see it 5 or 6 cents rather than 10 cents. But I'd like to have a few restrictions on it. I'd like all contracts made for infrastructure to be bid with prevailing wages, and also preference to local contractors.
Is that it? Okay, Mary?
Thank you. I have in the past supported a reasonable increase in Iowa's state gas tax. I continue to do so. On the House Transportation Committee during the last term, I was able to learn a lot about how we do fund our roads and our bridges and our highways, and how very crucial it is that we generate more revenue to do so. We are currently, it's been a long time since we've been spending enough money on taking care of business with our roads. The gas tax, I would support a 10 cents increase over a period of 2 to 5 years. I think that makes sense. I know it's difficult for a lot of people just thinking about raising any tax at all for any reason, but for Clinton County especially, it is crucial that we get Highway 30 improved and enlarged, and the only way that's going to happen is if we prioritize funding for our highways. And one way I can show that I support that prioritization is to support a reasonable gas tax. That's what I'm going to do, and I sure hope when we get back there we can do that and it doesn't get bogged down in, oh, we're only going to do that if we also can come up with a property tax reform bill and an income tax reform bill and who knows what else, because that probably isn't going to happen. That happened last session. They tried to link the earned income tax with property tax reform. We didn't get either of them. So I'd like to focus on a reasonable gas tax increase so we can focus on improving our roads, improving Highway 30, and that's going to generate a huge economic advantage for Clinton.
Next question, Steve, you're first. Iowa's corporate tax rate is one of the highest in the country. Many economic advisors feel that this is a detriment to luring new business and economic development to the state of Iowa. What would be your position if legislation is offered to reduce the Iowa corporate income tax rate, and why?
Well, as I stated in the previous question, I would support wholesale tax reform, meaningful tax reform, both from the income standpoint as well as property tax. I'm sure that part of this question relates to the brouhaha, for lack of a better description, that happened down in Scott County and ended up with Oroscom going to Lee County. I think that our tax system does need to be reevaluated, and when we put these tax reforms or tax incentives in place for job growth, for incentives for economic development, it is kind of a buffer for the tax rates that we have in place. These businesses do have to be profitable, have to make a profit for those tax credits to come into play. So as a result of it, I would support tax reform.
Ted?
I would support property tax reform. I think it would encourage businesses to come from out of state or new businesses to be built here in Iowa, make it easier for them. It would encourage job growth, and it would increase goods and services, which would increase the tax income. I would not like to see any tax incentives to locate here. When you're giving away $36 million to a business to come and locate here, how long does it take to make that taxes up in wages and jobs, what have you?
Yeah, I'm going to do a follow-up question just so the audience is clear, because the question was specifically about corporate income tax rates. When you started your answer, you said property tax.
I meant property tax.
Okay, so you weren't addressing the income tax. Okay, just want to be sure the audience was clear as to where you're coming from.
I'm open to ideas. I'm always open to ideas. I want to be accessible, but I have not made a decision on income tax.
Thank you. Mary?
Thank you. One of the good things that Governor Branstad has done is he's put together a really fabulous website to highlight Iowa's economic development opportunities, both for local businesses and also to help attract businesses from out of state. And I gotta say, if you go through some of the statements on that website, it sure doesn't sound like the Iowa Economic Development Department feels that we have a problem with corporate income tax. One of the things they point out is that Iowa's corporate income tax may be reduced or eliminated through Iowa's many tax incentive programs. And that happens on a routine basis. On a kind of case-by-case basis, there are ways to lower or, in many cases, eliminate corporate income tax if it's felt to be appropriate because of the fact that this particular corporation is generating a lot of local jobs or in some way giving back to the community. They also point out that here in Iowa, Iowa is one of only 3 states in which corporations can deduct 50% of their federal income taxes from their Iowa income tax returns. That is a huge benefit that corporations can't get almost anywhere else. There's many other things that we offer corporations and businesses to attract them to come here. I think we're doing a great job. I think we don't want to get carried away the way it appears might have happened up in Lee County with their fertilizer plant. But, you know, certainly it's a discussion to have, lowering commercial or lowering corporate income taxes, but we need to look at the big picture and all the many, many incentives we're already providing. Thank you.
Carolyn?
As the administrative assistant for my business, I see all these taxes come through, and the corporate income tax does not really seem to be that major an issue for our small business. Actually, I think that the property tax and the gas tax were to pass at the gas tax at what it is now, it would be a concern for us because 10% of the gas tax that we pay in a month is almost $160. I would favor reducing corporate income tax if it is truly as high as everyone is saying that it is. I really have not noticed that. Perhaps we just have accountants who are able to come up with ways to make that seem less painful for us. I know we usually get big bonuses at my company at the end of the year, and that keeps them from having to pay too much in income tax, and I kind of like those bonuses. Thank you.
Okay, Ted, next question. If elected to the legislature, what ideas, proposals, and alternatives will you bring to the table to entice new business to the state and growth to our economic base?
Well, we're back to the commercial property tax decrease, because I believe that will encourage outside businesses to locate here. It'll grow the economy. Excuse me. It will increase the tax base by having more employees. As you grow the employees, the amount of employees that the business has, the better it is for Iowa.
Mary?
Could you please repeat the question?
If elected, for you would be reelected to the legislature, what ideas, proposals, and alternatives will you bring to the table to entice new business to the state and growth to our economic base?
Well, I think as far as growth, a thought that I've been working on for a long time and I've discussed with some local business owners is trying to figure out how we can enforce the 7% internet sales tax. I think certainly for local businesses, the fact that they have to collect and process a sales tax while, Amazon does not, does put them at a huge disadvantage, and that's simply not fair. Under Iowa law, we're all supposed to voluntarily pay that 7% tax in when we do our taxes at the end of the year, but I think realistically that sure as heck isn't happening. So I think it could both be a huge source of revenue for our state. It would also even the playing ground a little more for our local small businesses, and that's really, I think, one of the things that I should be doing out there. It's looking out for people back home who want to stay in this area and contribute to my district, but are struggling just like many small businesses. So, I love Amazon, I use it, but I don't see any reason why they should be given that kind of advantage when realistically they aren't doing a whole lot for our community other than selling us a lot of shoes. I guess I also think that we need to look at the earned income tax credit. Right now, it's Iowa's state income tax earned income credit is one of the lowest in the country, one of the 3 lowest, and that would stimulate a lot of buying by middle class, hardworking Iowa families. It's going to put the money where it's going to do some good, and that will have a chain reaction. Thank you.
Carolyn?
I think we need to ease property taxes on everyone. We need to pay more attention to the small businesses that are already here rather than spending all our time trying to lure new businesses who may or may not come here. The small businesses are here now, and we need to do what we can to help them grow and prosper, because if each small business adds jobs, that could end up being as many jobs as we would get in one of these larger industrial moves. I think that we need to have tax incentives for capital investment by our existing small businesses. And I think we really need to look at exports as a way of increasing our economic development. There is an exporting conference being sponsored by the Department of Economic Development on November 2nd in Brooklyn, Iowa. I think that it would behoove anyone who does have a product to export in this area to attend that conference.
Steve?
I think the job creation begins with wholesale tax reform, both property tax as well as income tax. And when I talk tax reform from property tax standpoint, I'm not talking 40%. I think that many commercial property owners would be very happy with a 10 or 15% reduction if they could get some stability and know what the actual increase was going to be down the road. We need to eliminate burdensome regulatory demands, streamline the permitting process. I think that the DNR with the new director have been trying to work with the communities, with businesses. I know they have gone on recruiting trips so that they can address many of the concerns of